So hope you are able to view my screen. Can someone please reply? Yes. Okay. So let's get started. So for this session, we had 2 sessions before this, and before that we were discussing on the syllabus of the PMP and how the exam structure looks like. That was the initial webinar, and then from there we moved into the demo sessions, so where we provided like a sample of what project management professional looks like, right? And then the second demo demonstrated like how you have to prepare for the exam and how IT Learn team would assist you in preparing for the PMP, and how does our training looks like. So today's session also it is free demo for today, but if you see the content, this is the real exam content. So we will go through the actual exam content and how we are going to take it forward and how the session looks like. So the next sessions would be paid sessions after this, so it will be continuation of today's session. Okay, so without talking much about how the sessions looks like, so let's look at today's agenda. Okay, so today's agenda, we are basically modeled it to understand what are our code of ethics, okay, and how these applies, to whom does this code of ethics apply, and some samples of it. Okay, so let's look at that. So before starting into the session, let's just try to understand what are these code of ethics. Okay, so what do you mean by code of ethics? As we see, as we do any of our jobs, or we are working as a project manager, or we are working in any of the industry, there are few code of ethics. If you're driving, you're doing an activity which involves others people's lives and risk. So even if you're working in the IT industry or we are outside, everywhere, how do we want to work? What is the minimum ethics? What is my professional and social responsibility towards my job, towards my organization, towards others who are working with me, right? So what kind of social and professional responsibility? Okay, so what should I do? So let's say you're driving on the road, right? So when you're driving on the road, if you see, like if you're driving in US or in any country, every country has its own rules and regulations, right? So if you break the rule, there are few penalties, or the biggest risk is the life of yours or someone else, right? So we always try to maintain our rules and regulations, right? So if we consider that scenario, that's very important. So do we need such kind of rules, very strict rules? If it considers US driving, it's very strict. So do we need such kind of rules for doing our project management activities, or do we need any kind of rules? So let's take a scenario for project management, right? Let's take a scenario that you're working for your company, right? And let's say your friend comes in and asks you, you have a specific template, or you're working on a software which is very specific to your company, and your friend comes in and asks you, can you share the code with me? And it's a very specific software. Let's say you're employee of Apple, and Apple is working every day on its new versions of iOS, right? So if you're part of that company, will you provide the code to your very close friend? It's your close friend. So do I provide the code or do I deny it? So how do I decide? How do I decide what is my action? How do I decide what is my action to be taken, right? So that's first thing. What do I do in that scenario? Do I provide my code to them, or, okay, let me see if there is any issue, or I will answer the questions as we complete the session. So these are recorded sessions. Yes, we will be providing the record sessions. Once we complete the session, it will be available by tomorrow, and we will be mailing the link. Okay, and we will go through the questions once it is done. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone is able to view the screen. Okay, so coming to the topic. So how do I decide? Is it up to me because I am in the company, or company has to lay out some rules? So who will lay out the rules? Okay, so for a project manager, okay, for any person, for a project, whoever is working in a project as a project manager or as a team member, or any person who is responsible in some kind of activities within that project, everyone, for them, these rules are laid out. Okay, so these rules are basically laid out by the Project Management Institute. Okay, so who is actually providing us the PMP exam? So this institute has laid out this. There are few rules which they have laid out. So whenever I have a question, how do I decide? What do I do? Do I provide the information, or what step I have to take, or can I compromise with my values? I have few social and professional responsibilities. Can I compromise with them? Can I do something which is required, but actually it is not what I want to do? So in that situation, who would provide us the answer? Okay, so how do I decide? Basically, those rules, okay, those rules are laid out by this PMI, Project Management Institute. Okay, so those are nothing but the code of ethics, which are basically the social and professional responsibilities of any person working on a project to follow and make others also follow with them. Okay, so then the question arises, so who should follow this? Basically, who should follow these rules? Okay, as you all are attending this session, right? So you are all the project management professionals, right? So all of you project management professionals who wants to take the PMI exam, right? Because you are joining the session to understand how the PMI looks like. So whoever is intending to take this session should follow these rules. We will look into the rules in just a second, but first, to understand who should follow the rules, So all the project management professionals who wants to take any kind of PMI certification or sessions, they have to follow these rules. Okay, and then we have any project management professional who already has a PMI with them. Okay, any individual who wants to take the certification. Okay, so they have to follow these rules definitely. Okay, and any person who is going to take the certification also has to follow these rules, and any individual who is volunteering, who is providing their support in any kind of project management activities for this PMI group. So there are few local chapters available with PMI Institute. Okay, so whoever is volunteering themselves to work with the Project Management Institute with a PMP certification or without a PMP certification, so everyone has to follow this. Okay, so this is all who are intending to have the PMI. Okay, PMP certification. But when you see for the PMP certification, we have already said that if you are a member of PMI, okay, so it's not mandatory to be member of PMI. Without the member of PMI, you can still take the PMP certification exam. Okay, so the difference we have already explained. Like if you are a member of PMI, then you have to pay for every year. There is a subscription fee, but it would open up a wide range of books, and there are wide range of project management professionals who are member of PMI. So you can go through their various presentations, and you can attend several webinars provided by various project managers. So it is definitely an advantage, and when it comes to the PMP certification, to take it for the first time, if you are a member of PMI, then you would pay like $100 less for the PMP certification exam. Okay, but after that you have to retain your membership. Okay, for every year you have to pay a subscription fee to retain your membership. So those are members of PMI. If you are not a member of PMI, then also these code of ethics are applicable for all the project management professionals who wants to take the PMP certification, who have already taken the PMP certification, and any person who is volunteering some project management professional activity. Okay, but that doesn't mean that these are only for these people who are working with PMI. Because these rules are laid out by PMI, so we consider that PMI is definitely a minimum. I mean, whoever is working with this group should definitely follow these ethics. But as you look at the actual ethics and actual guidelines which are provided, you will understand that these ethics are required for every project management professional who is working in various projects. All of you who are attending this session or who are working with any kind of industry, so what kind of ethics we have to maintain in our work culture, or how we do our day-to-day activities. Okay, how does a project management professional has to do their day-to-day activities? So that's basically is defined in this code of ethics. Okay, so let's look at how they are defined. Okay, so now we know that These are the minimum who have to definitely follow it, but it applies to each and every individual. Okay, so when it comes to day-to-day activities, we know that yes, we have to follow this. But in terms of the PMP exam, right? In terms of PMP exam, what does these hold? What does these hold? So in terms of exam, you will get a minimum of 15 to 18 questions. Okay, so from 200 questions, okay, you will have a minimum of 18 questions just based on these rules. Few are very simple. We will look into the scenarios. Few are very different. You will see that these scenarios are happening with you day to day, okay, as we look into further sessions, and you see that what should you do, what that's basically provided with these guidelines. Okay, so there will be 18 questions. The number will vary from 15 to 20, but it would touch all the phases of your project management, which is defined as part of PMP exam. Okay, so how many code of ethics are there? So what are the code of ethics? Okay, so basically they have defined for 4 types of values. 4 types of values for which these codes or these guidelines are provided. Okay, so what are those? Those are, the first one is, what is the responsibility? Okay, so what is my responsibility in various situations? Okay, so we will look into the situations. So what is my responsibility in various situations? Then comes fairness. Okay, so how fair I am working in. So what should be my environment? Then comes, the third one is honesty. Okay, so whatever work you are doing in, right? So how honest you are in providing your work. Okay, so what are the rules there? Okay, and last but not the least, what is the respect towards yourself and your colleagues and everyone who is working with you without any cultural differences? So what kind of respect you are providing to your work culture, to your to your other friends or professionals or any kind of team members who are working within your organization and outside of your organization, with whom you have to reciprocate each and every day. So what kind of respect you have to maintain between these groups. Okay, so these are the 4 major areas wherein the code of ethics are defined. Okay, so for these 4 areas, as you see, there will be situations where you have to definitely mandatorily follow a rule. Okay, so you have to, there's no other way. You have to definitely follow the rule. Let's say the best example would be copyrights. Okay, so you have a software. Let's say you are getting some software, or let's say Microsoft project plan. Okay, some project plan in some version, and a vendor is sending it to you, and vendor says that, okay, I don't have the software, so how do I open it? So the vendor says that, okay, I have a copy. Let me send the exe file. Okay. So do we want to accept this? There are several rules within the company. We see that there are several rules wherein the exe files will not work. But if you have an open hand to execute the file and run it in your local system, should you do that? It might end up with security issues. That's definitely there. But even then, if it doesn't end up with security issues, can I run it? This is a very common situation. When it comes to our home computer, we definitely do that several times. But when it comes to a project management professional who's working on real projects, should he do that or should she do that when they are working in their work environment and when it comes to their home environment, right? So what do you think? Provide me your answer. So what will you do in that situation? Will you actually open up yourself? What will you do in that session? If you can type in your answers. So the question is this. You have the availability of downloading some exe file for which you don't hold the copyrights. So will you download? I just want to see the percentage. How many says yes or how many says no? Just be open. This is absolutely okay. I got a nope. Ask the management. Ask them to send software. No. No. Yep. So looks like everyone is on the no path. Okay, let's take if it is your home environment. How many does do this? Professional, office, yes. I see no, no, no. Yeah, personal, there will be few yes, few no's. Definitely we are in the mid of the situation. But after looking at this code of ethics, right, it always creates a security concern that we already know. Okay, but when it comes to this responsibility, so that's where is your actual responsibility comes in. So what, as a project management professional, you are expected that you will not download anything. I mean, you will actually not violate the copyright laws, right? Mainly if it is software, yes, but even for the movies or any kind of activity. So let's not look into the very personal things like movies or anything. But when it comes to the professional, we always expect that the project management professional will not violate the rules. So it's their minimum responsibility to maintain the safety and security of the environment, right? The safety and security of the environment where they are working in, okay? And it's their minimum responsibility, right, to avoid any kind of endages. That's definitely there. And it's not ethical. It's not at all ethical for any project management professional to actually violate this rule, because it's their responsibility to see that we are accepting only the right versions. Okay, so we have to do what we say we will do. So this is this is kind of a tricky situation, right? So it's like sometimes probably we don't know. Sometimes it's very mandatory. So in this case, the copyright is definitely a mandatory standard. Okay, so we should never violate this rule if you consider your professional environment. But when it comes to personal, that's up to you. That's a different situation which we will not discuss here now. But this particular rule is quite mandatory. So for any of these values, we have a mandatory rule which we have to definitely follow. Okay. Now let's take a situation. Okay. Let's take some other situation where okay, let's take a situation that you are a project manager, okay, and you are assigned your the other project manager within your company, okay, working with you on some other projects, okay. The other project manager is on leave, okay. So because he is going on leave, so that projects are assigned to you, okay, because the other project manager is on leave. And this project manager, before leaving on his vacation, he provides a status report, and status report shows all green, okay. So this is definitely you will see in lot of scenarios. Everywhere, everything is working fine. Most of the projects, no issues, no risk, unless it is something major, right? So the status report all shows green. So in that case, now you have taken up the project, and now you have to work. You are looking at the project plan, okay. As you start looking at project plan, you would see that there are a lot of discrepancies. There are a lot of slippages, okay. So you find that there is a lot of slippage in schedule, okay. Cost doesn't reflect properly. The scope is not up to mark, or there are multiple changes which were not added to the scope, okay. So you find lot of issues in the project plan and all the other reports, the monthly reports or whatever have been going on, but the report which went to the management and to the other groups, it shows green. So what should you do in this situation? Do you report the issue? Do you report the issue? But this other project manager is your good friend. You go for lunch, you are together when you are in office, and you have been working with him from ages. So do you want to report the issue? If you want to report the issue, to whom you would report the issue? To his project team members, or to the higher management, or any other project manager who is above you, that's above you and above the other project manager? So what do you want to do? Or just neglect because he is your friend and it's a project. You see there is schedule slippage, you know there is cost slippage, everything at the end would be reworked in between. So do we want to really show that when the project manager is on leave? or do you want to wait for the project manager to come back and you want to check with him? So what do you want to do in this situation? Yep. So do you immediately report, or do you report to your senior managers, or you completely neglect the situation, or you want to wait for the project manager to come back? So what do you want to do? Trying to check your answers. The question is straightforward. Don't look at what aspects are there. Just select something from this. Okay. Okay. Good to see that the neglect option is removed totally. So, yep, that's first thing which we have to remove out of the picture. Okay. Now, few are saying that we have to report. Few are saying wait. So this is a tricky question. So this is what is where you see the differences. Okay. In terms of questions which comes in PMP. So that is where you have to prepare and you have to churn yourself to answer such type of questions. Okay. So both are very correct. I have to wait for the project manager to come back because I cannot take the decisions. He might have taken this decision based on some criteria, so you want to understand from him. But if you wait for the project manager, there is every possibility that the project might turn completely, it might at least turn to orange, a minimum risk. But due to the wait, there is a possibility that it might turn to a complete red. So, but here looking at the situation, you cannot say that, right? Because there is no other parameter listed. Like we got the first response to see that depending on time constraint. Yes, definitely agreed. But if you look at the scenario, we really don't know whether it is the start of the project or mid of the project or end of the project. Okay, so based on the question, you always have to select the first option. What will the project manager do? What will I do in that situation? Should be your criteria. Okay, so always the questions will not provide you the full information. What is the first step a project manager has to do? That should be your direction of thinking. In these scenarios, you will find such n number of scenarios when you are taking your exam. You might get a similar question with parameters changed, I mean the way the question is laid out, but as you are thinking and churning through the sessions as we are discussing this, and after that you are taking the mock and live exams, right? You will be able to apply your thinking to other areas. So in this scenario, the only thing what you can do is you have to report it. Okay, so you definitely have to report it to the appropriate body, that is basically the senior management in this case. Okay, yes, we do need to wait, but right now, looking at these 4 answers, the only best option available for me is I have to report the discrepancies. Okay, but let's say if they have placed this question in a different way, and they said that the project has just started or something like that, even that also is not going to change your answers, because these are the code of ethics which are laid out by the PMI Institute, and this one is basically a aspirational standard. Okay, these type of scenarios where you will to do something. Okay, you want to wait for the project manager to come back. You doesn't want him to be fired or whatever the situation might be, which will this scenario end to. But you are aspiring something, but you have to do something else. Okay, so those kind of scenarios. So what have to do in such kind of scenarios where you have to take some ownership to correct yourself or to correct any other groups or any other parties who are working with you, because that accountability. Okay, so that accountability is basically by the code of ethics. It says that you are accountable once you are the project manager. Okay, so those type of scenarios are called the aspirational standards, aspirational conducts. So we have basically for all these 4 types of values, right? We have a mandatory standard, and then we have a aspirational standard. Okay, so for each of these, in further sessions, we would see what kind of mandatory standards are there, what kind of aspirational standards are defined. So there are like basically 7 to 8 rules, and that applies to different situations in different ways. So based on your choice which is provided, always think in terms of what is the first step that a project manager has to take, which is defined in this code of ethics. Okay, that will drive you to get the direct 18 questions answered for the exam, and highest possibility of getting everything answered. But we always see that people tend to confuse themselves and lose the marks. Okay, so we need to churn through a lot of scenarios here, and as you go through the sessions, you'll have many more questions. Okay, and we'll provide you the live and mock exams, and then a description of why which option is chosen. Okay, we'll work through it. As these are demo sessions, so we are just looking at the chat, but in live sessions we will actually talk together and walk through the scenarios, and it will be all interactive. That is what we are expecting, that is what we are planning, not just expectation, but we are planning to have just complete interactive sessions. Okay, so in each scenario we will talk through, and you can go ahead and apply those scenarios for your day-to-day jobs. Okay, and we will definitely discuss your day-to-day scenarios as well, where you can apply these code of ethics and share them in the session. Okay, so for today's session, as we just moved on, I'll just highlight, recap what we have learned through. So what are these PMI code of ethics? As practitioners, we are committed to do what is right and honorable. So that is what is this code of ethics. Okay, so these are basically the definitions which is provided in this PMI code of ethics. It is provided by the PMI Institute, so they are available once you click this link. So you can read through. This presentation would be provided to you. So it's just a recap of what we have discussed so far. Okay, so they are basically the definitions. Okay, so the number of questions, as I said, there would be like around 18 questions from 200, which will cover all the areas of project management, knowledge areas which we looked in our day 1 and day 2, right? So who does it apply? So it's to all the PMI members, and if you're not a PMI, then it applies to any persons who already have a PMI certification. So it applies to me because I hold a PMI already. It applies to you all because you want to commence the certification, right? And any person who is directly or indirectly serving the PMI Institute. Okay, so as we already discussed, the 4 values wherein this code of ethics are defined are responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty. Okay, so I have just put a sample. So we have the aspirational and we have the mandatory codes for each of these 4 areas. Okay, so mandatory are the scenarios wherein definitely we have to do only one thing and there is no other action which we can take. But in aspirational, it's something we aspire to do, but we have to do what is defined in this code of ethics. Okay, so in our upcoming sessions, we would start with each of these. Okay, so we'll go through this mandatory and aspirational for all the 4 areas. Okay, so I'm open to the questions now, not just on today's sessions, but also the other questions which other team members have been laying out. Okay, so regarding the recordings, yes, we will provide all the recordings. They are available on YouTube, and we will even forward that again through email, so you can have them on IT Learn website. They're available there, and they will be available to you through mail as well. Okay. Every session will be recorded, so but these 3 sessions will be provided to all the aspirational PMP takers, but from now onwards they will be paid sessions. So day 4 starting would be paid sessions, and we are planning to have 40 sessions, 1 hour each, Monday to Friday, and all the recordings will be available as we complete the session. We have a live and mock sessions. We have provided the sample of that in our day 2 session and how the IT Learn would take up the sessions. So we have provided all that. So it's similar to today's session. So we'll provide this presentation, we'll provide the Excel where we have been walking through, and we'll provide the live and mock exams at the end of the topic. Okay. How long they will be accessible? So as you know, the IT Learn rules, basically it's subscription based. So if you are a member of IT Learn, you would get the access for it's based on different rates. So we will provide that in the email, and you can put all your questions in the tech-based forum support where in the IT Learn website. Okay. So starting from next session, they're all paid classes from the next session. How many classes for the paid sessions? They will range from 35 to 37. Okay. Okay, I'm just checking. So are there any other additional questions you want to know on the session? Monday to Friday, yes, 1 hour. Possibly it might extend by 5 to 10 minutes or so based on everyone's availability, because it will be more interactive session, so session might drag, or possibly if the team member was not there, so just to recap, we might repeat few areas again. So in those scenarios, the session might drag somewhere. What material do we provide? So the material is basically these presentations for each day. They are the recap, which are actually the complete definitions and the complete agenda of that day. We'll have this presentation, so this will be shared. Okay. Then every day we have a Excel based exercise what we are doing as our live sessions, so this will be provided. Okay. Then we have live and mock sessions, exams. Okay. So at the end of each day's presentation, we will be running through various situations. Okay. So the questions would be there. We would answer, we would run through the answers, so we provide that. Then we have live exam questions which are available only for the paid members, and then we have a 200 exam live question, so that will also be available on the site, on IT Learn site. So you will have all that as our training material. Okay, I'm checking, looks like we have almost answered all the questions. So if you have any other questions, please do log into the IT Learn website and just select the Project Management Professional and place your questions in the tech-based forum. So we will provide your answers right away, okay? And this recording will also be provided to you through mail, and it would be a YouTube link available on the IT Learn website, sorry. Okay, so looks like we are on time, so we will carry forward this session. Okay, for the member, when is the next class? So we have already planned out for the classes, but just to provide few additional resources, we had provided this demo as well. So we will start the live sessions. We will publish the timelines by tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So you will have the complete details with you. Okay. You're welcome. So hope everyone had a great session. So and looking forward for your support in the live sessions as well. So any questions, please lay out in the tech-based forum support. We'll get back to you. And for today's session, this is what we have done. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining in the session, and let's talk in the live sessions. Okay, thanks everyone.